Hi, y'all. So I thought today what might be the most helpful is to kind of combine what we're going to be doing for our writing and combine practice for expository text into one TEK that we'll cover. And so TEK just means, objective, nothing fancy. And so what I think we are going to do is going to be diving into expository text, specifically looking at comparing and contrasting text. When we say compare, again, we just mean like we're thinking about how the texts are similar. And when we contrast, we're thinking about how the texts are different, okay? And after teaching fifth grade ELA for now, this is my fifth year doing that, I can definitely tell y'all that there is absolutely going to be a text where we're gonna have to compare and contrast in the STAR test. So this is a great thing to go over, okay? So comparing and contrasting, we wanna take a couple of steps, okay? The first thing we wanna do is we just wanna read the text, take notes, and highlight important information like we do with every text. Then what I find really helpful is making a Venn diagram to organize our similarities and differences. Then we're going to look for keywords in the question and answer choices that match our notes. We're going to eliminate wrong answers because we don't care about those, right? Those can go. And then we're going to choose the right answer, okay? So let's start with this passage. I purposely chose an example that was going to be a little bit shorter for y'all so we can do it in this short amount of time, okay? So passage 1, eating a lot of fresh vegetables helps us stay healthy. Many people enjoy growing vegetables in their home gardens. A vegetable that goes straight from the garden to the kitchen is fresh indeed. However, some people live in apartments or small houses with no space for a garden. This does not mean that they cannot grow their own vegetables, though. One thing to consider is a roof garden. Many people keep plants in pots or other containers on the roofs of their apartments. This kind of garden allows the apartment gardener to raise fresh food without using space in their home. All right, what are some important things so far? I'm going to go ahead and get out my pen and underline a couple important things that we learned. So, many people enjoy growing vegetables in their home gardens. Seems like that's what we're going to be talking about since the second paragraph told us about roof gardens. And so I'm just going to highlight one thing to consider is a roof garden. Great, let's go ahead and keep reading. Another popular idea is a community garden. It starts when a town or city sets aside a piece of land. People in the city sign up to garden a small area of land. They plant vegetables in their assigned plot. They take care of their garden and enjoy eating the food they produce. Awesome, so I'm going to go ahead and underline community garden. Great, let's go ahead and go to the next passage, passage 2. Hurricanes and tornadoes are two of nature's most powerful events. Both form when air moves to move rapidly in a circular motion. At the center of each storm is a core of very low air pressure. Wind begins to swirl around this core. These winds can reach over 200 miles per hour. Great. I'm going to go ahead and highlight hurricanes and tornadoes. Hurricanes and tornadoes almost always form in warm weather. The warm air fuels the strength of the storms. Along with these strong winds, thunderstorms and heavy rains add to the fierce power of both kinds of storms. Yet, even as their winds roar, each storm has a calm, peaceful center. Okay, cool. It's telling us how they form. Okay, and it's telling us that they have a calm, peaceful center. Tornadoes and hurricanes both cause much property damage each year. In 1 year alone, hurricanes and tornadoes caused over $13 billion in damage to the US. Okay, great. So we have our main points highlighted, and now we're ready to make a Venn diagram. All right, so basically when you make a Venn diagram, you want to draw 2 circles, and they should overlap. This one's like almost perfect. I don't love it, so I'm gonna just make my own line here so that this like truly does what I want it to. Okay, this is supposed to be a better line, but you know what? It is what it is, so we're just gonna go with that. Okay, cool. So we're gonna go ahead and first label the first circle to have the title of the first passage. So in this case, it's just passage 1, okay? And then I'm going to label the second circle passage 2. All right, and so basically everything that's just about passage 1 is going to go in this circle. Everything that's just about passage 2 is going to go in this circle. And ways they're similar is going to go in this circle, okay? Well, I first want to think of how they're similar. So I want to go back to my notes, okay? They're not super similar, right? They talk about different subjects, but they both talk about things in nature, right? One's talking about fresh vegetables, one's talking about hurricanes and tornadoes. And so that's like really the only similarity that I can think of on the top of my head. So I'm going to write here, both discuss things in nature. I know, very specific, Miss Watson, but you know, they don't have a lot in common, okay? All right, so I'm gonna look at passage 1 and kind of put my notes together. So passage 1 tells me different ways to grow your own food, right? Growing vegetables in home gardens. Great, so it talks about home gardens. So I'm just gonna write here, home gardens, okay? And then passage 2, it is about tornadoes and hurricanes. Okay. Again, these aren't like super similar topics, so I don't have a whole lot of notes. If these were passages that were a little bit more similar, I might have more specific notes. But in this case, you know, I'll just look back in the text if I need to for a certain question. Okay, cool. So I'm going to look at this particular question and highlight keywords in the question, and then look at the answer choices and highlight keywords there. So it's asking me, what is the difference between the first and second passages? So this is a pretty simple question. It's just asking me a difference between the passages, okay? So I'm noticing A, we've got people, in the second passage does not, okay? Second passage gives useful information, the first does not. First passage could be understood by anyone. The second passage is written for scientists. The second passage compares two things. The first passage did not. Okay? Well, the first thing I want to do is eliminate answers I know are wrong. I was looking at C and I was thinking, this is ridiculous. Like, we read the second passage, we understood it fine, and so there's no way that the second passage is written for scientists, right? And then B too. No, they both give useful information. You know, that seems kind of silly. So then our answers that, you know, could make sense that are left are A, the first passage discusses people, the second does not, or D, the second passage compares two things, the first passage does not. Well, looking at my notes, I have here that passage 2 talks about tornadoes and hurricanes. So that does compare two things, right? And then passage 1 just talks about home gardens. So I'm like gonna lean towards D, but I also just want to make sure passage 1 isn't really discussing people. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of details about people, right? I mean, it says many people enjoy growing vegetables, but that's kind of like a general thing, and it's not giving specific information. So I'm going to say D is the best answer. And I know because I looked really thoroughly, I made my Venn diagram, and I looked back in the text. Okay, so I'm going to have you practice this on your own, and I'm going to make it a we do with your advisory, and then have y'all pick the best answer together. Okay, when you're done with that, I'll see you back, and we're going to discuss our summative writing.